Make a U-turn. In 1,000 feet, slide left, take the next left, sharp left, turn right on, continue on, in a quarter mile, at the light, in 600 feet, turn right on. You have reached your destination.
And I present to you a naked MG Coupe, almost. Looks almost like a, it looks like a Beetle, almost. So all the fenders, the hood, and the trunk lid are off, as well as the transmission tunnel and so forth. And I wanted to show you something that I start looking for immediately, and it's this. And this is no big effing deal. It's all surface rust, right? Where is that thing? Okay, so when you start to review and look at rust, you want to see or look for something specific, and I'll get to that in a sec. First thing you want to look for is rust that's gone all the way through. So far, so good. Somebody did a patch job in there, as well as, so this is different than this. You can tell by old, rusty, and somewhat painted metal versus virgin stuff. So somebody did a pretty good, pretty passable, actually, repair there. I'm going to finish up the welds, grind it down, make it look smooth, and then probably do the other side with etching primer and so forth, right? But I most likely have to do, and I probably will do, the dog leg repair. I fucking hate this. I did it on my Coupe, on my, god dang it, on my Roadster, and it was a bitch. But look at this. Let's see if I can get some of this off. Bondo. Whoops. Bondo. Let's bring it from this side. Likely not. Well, anyway. Each of these oddities are somebody putting Bondo from the other side, and it's squeezing through and hardening as is, and then the fender was used as it stands. Okay, not a big deal. Bondo's used on all kinds of stuff. However, my dislike of Bondo is that unless it's fiberglass based, no kidding, resin and et cetera, it is a magnet for water. So this has to come off. I've got to strip the entire fender anyway, so all of that has to come off. I'm going to see what lies beneath it. It looks like there's a bubble up here. I cut myself. And this patch here doesn't look bad. It feels okay from the other side too, so it was a good patch. It was nicely done, at least cosmetically. And what I'm going to do is just seal it. Okay, I'm going to get as much rust and junk off of there as I can. It might have even been brazed. And then seal it so that water doesn't. Yeah, it's been brazed. I'll be damned. Brazing is a technique, a welding technique, a metal joining technique that is pretty old. You don't see it very often anymore unless you're a very specific kind of artisan, and I am not. My original Roadster came with a shit ton of brazing, so this is pretty old work. I don't think James did this. Anyway. So that's that fender, okay? I also wanted to show something else over here. I'd given a lot of thought to just, what do you call it, scuffing up the paint so it's nice and milky smooth, and then painting right over that. That's not an unusual way to paint cars, except for this. So somebody at some point wanted to stabilize any continuing rust, and did so with a pretty thick coat of primer, right? When I started to take some of it down, you can see that there's a little rust under that. And epoxy primer is the only primer that I am aware of that, no kidding, seals in, bonds to and seals in the metal that it's painted to. This urethane shit, it breathes. So you'll very often, well, I can recall back to when I was a kid, you know, the local teenager with the big muscle car that didn't have the money to do a proper paint job, so he would rattle can spray paint it with primer, urethane, and within 2 weeks it was rusting through. So urethane doesn't seal. I'm sure somebody's going to call my bluff on that and say, oh, bullshit, yada yada, but this is proof. Some proof. I'm now at a point where this will not go outside. I have the decision to make whether to replace this stuff here or hit the I don't give a shit button, because I'm going to cover that with carpet and sound deadening and blah 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 anyway. I may just do that. That's what I'm looking at. But I'll get to it from the underside once the body's off and get a gander at what I'm looking at, right? The floorboards were not tied down, so those are coming out easily. I'm happy to report this because when I pulled the floorboards out of my my roadster, none of the fasteners were coming, so I just took a hammer and literally beat them out. It was easy because they're all rotten anyway, but given the amount of oil that's in there, I'm not going to be able to attach any carpet or anything else to the floorboards, so I'll keep these and use them as templates. I'm a little undecided as to what I'm going to put back in the engine bay. I may keep, I may not keep, I'm likely not to keep. I am my father's son when it comes to more power now, please. So I may replace this with a Miata engine, a modern one, and a modern 6-speed. I've already, not discovered, but I've already promised myself that I'm going to make this into a right-hand drive, and I've got all the material and the correct steering gaiter and blah 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 for that, so that's not going to be tough. In fact, it'll be rather easy. And then I guess that kind of depends on which engine I put in there. If it's another 4-cylinder Miata, shouldn't be an issue, right? If it's not, then if I go the GM V6 route, I don't know what I have ahead of me. If I stay with an MGB engine, if I upgrade to an MGB engine rather, no issues, as you can see here. So, I mean, the footprint of an MGB versus an MG engine is just about the same thing. I also want to point out that is what's called a banjo union, a banjo fitting. I have that on out of this thing's fuel pump. So I worked all kinds of time on replacing fuel lines and pump and filters and blah 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 under the rear end, and it has a fucking banjo fitting for the fuel pump, and it leaks because that's what banjo fittings do. It's crappy fucking design. So I hope to drive this thing to work today, but no, I have a leaking banjo fitting, so I'm going to replace it with a barbed. Anyway, back to this. As you can see, I draw your eye to that fitting there. That's one of the steering universals. That bolt, center screen, unscrews, and the entire steering column comes with it. Okay? Now, why do you care? Well, because you're going to help me, you're going to assist me in taking it out of, as you can see, there. And all MGAs were made with every kind of other MGA, and how it was put together delineated between left-hand and right-hand drive. So that hole there is there. And that's where the steering column will go. My intent is to use an MGB steering column to include integrated horn, integrated turn signals, and that kind of stuff. Not that I know how that damn thing gets put together, but we'll find out. And go from there. I mean, there's some upgrades and some modernization that I want to do with this. So there she blows. Okay. I'm not going to take the engine and transmission out yet. I'm gonna have to think of a game plan. I need to find places to stow, store, and otherwise hang all of the body bits and pieces. I'll show you each of these in a second, if you're interested, and of course for my own memory, so that if I have to come back to it, I can remember what I did or did not do. Okay, let's start with this one here. At some point, that same amount of primer was painted on here. You can see brushstrokes. Okay, and again, that's not a big deal. This was somebody's attempt and a good intention to seal it off from the environment. Keep it from rusting even more. So I will strip the hell out of that thing, get it down to bare metal, and then reprime it with epoxy primer. I swear by the stuff. Okay, doors again. I think this came as originally a white car. It's now red, and you can see some work that has been done here. Stripping this will be relatively easy, but I gotta be careful. It's such a thin layer. Other long fender, other front fender. Got some things here in the center, in the dog leak repair, but once I strip this, there we go. Once I strip this, I'll have a better idea of what I'm looking at, but obviously there's some body work that's been done there. Not all the way over, because I don't see any kind of a seam on the folded edge, but still some work to get done. What is this? Oh, that was handy. The captive nuts have been shoved up with, I guess, towel paper to prevent water or whatever to get in there. I'm going to seal off that. I don't want any kind of external antenna. I'll rig up something internal if I go with the radio. As I had shown in a different video, or perhaps I showed, I've also got the inner cowl here. It's been welded into place in a couple spots, but I'm going to take the entire thing out and replace it. It certainly needs, that's going to need it. It was welded in, you can see here. And let's look at the other side. Yep. So perhaps inexpertly, but I've done worse. That front cowl should be pretty easy to take off, honestly. Inner fender here has a crease there. It's kind of tough to see, but that's not going to be tough to fix. I'm likely to put in those louvered panels. If you're not familiar with, if you're unfamiliar with these things, they tend to overheat, or people talk about how they overheat, and any extra air escape, i.e. through the fender well, and there are specific things you can buy to assist with that, will be installed. And I'll show those in a different video at some other point. Don't know what that is. I don't believe that should be there. Let me look at the other side. Not bent up like that. No, that's easy to fix, right? The rest of it. So, inner rocker. Inner rocker has been welded in. Not badly. I can fix, I can grind down, I can make it look real nice. All these welds here so far. And again, at some point somebody put that same amount of primer on everything, which I'm not bitching. It was good. It saved from rusting any further, right? Yeah, this car was white originally. Even still, as patchy as that looks, that's an easy fix. That's an easy redo. If I decide to cut it out and patch in something else, none of this gets seen when the rest of the car is put together. Obviously, some more repair here. There's a screw there that was probably used to hold fast the B-pillar before it was welded in, perhaps. No, who knows? Ow. Okay, I need to weld that in. The rest of the interior battery box cover is spotless. And again, I'm looking at rust, right? The rear parcel shelf, such as it is, rusty but spotless. Let's look at it from a different angle. Again, rusty but spotless. When I say spotless, I'm looking for cancerous rust, which was a huge issue with my Roadster. Quite a bit of rust. I've already established that I'm pretty sure I've got the body undone. No bolt there, no bolt there. Jim had put a few bolts in the front so the body wouldn't go flying off during transport, but it was a covered transport, so getting this thing up and off the chassis will not be tough. Okay, so what I've got left, stowage of body pieces, fenders and so forth. Likely do some duty up in there, and maybe up in the attic. We'll see. And then I'm not sure what I'll do first. I need to make a list of materials that I'm going to need. I want to be careful about what I spend up front because I've got so much stuff left over from different jobs. Here, I'll zoom in. Shit tons of those things, right? Those are flapper discs. Grinding, polishing, heavy grit, easy to take off, rust and junk and so forth in one of these. I don't want to buy more of those if I don't have to. In the past, with my my Roadster and with my hated Fiat, I just spend, and didn't look back, and I had so much crap left over. Shit tons of sandpaper there, and I need to go through my attic to see what I have for consumables and stuff up there as well, right? So I think that is going to be it for today. Oh, here, let's take a look at the hood real quick. You want to see that? I show this as what happens to paint if you don't prep correctly. Whoops. Oh, shit, sorry. What happens to paint if you don't prep correctly? So the substrate, whatever was under this red paint when the hood was painted, I know you didn't do this, Jim. This is somebody else's stuff, but the paint comes off, right? It comes right off, and it'll be incumbent upon me to not only wash this absolutely thoroughly, but to prepare it even more thoroughly so that the primer will stick to it. And that's not tough. I don't really care. It's aluminum, for Christ's sake, so that cleans up really nicely. I'll need to be very careful about once I wash it to make sure I don't have any water left over in the braces. Yeah. Jim, I don't know if you ever saw this, but this was not prepped well by the guy that sold it to you. Yeah. But, again, that's all right. That'll come off. Everything comes off. Stripping this will take me the better part of, a few hours when I do it carefully and so forth. And then addressing any issues. I can already see some here. You look at the paint there. See how bubbled up it is? That's not bubbling. That's rust. That was rust. So getting all of that crap off there will show imperfect metal. And whether I replace it or leave it as is will be the question. Frankly, I'll probably leave it as is and dress it up cosmetically before I repaint. And I'll do all my own repainting. The door looks just as good as the other one. Again, it's patchy, dodgy paint, but all that comes off within an afternoon or less, and you're looking for rust. So I don't see a whole hell of a lot of it. And again, the surface rust, who gives a goddamn? It's the cancer stuff that I'm looking for, and I don't see a whole hell of a lot of it. You know, everything else that I'm working on, looking at, and examining, it's not all the way through. So I'm not in a bad position on this coupe. So enough for now. I'm going to start stowing somewhere all my parts and bits, and then I'll make some more stuff, more videos later on. Obviously, I'm inside the car, but I wanted to show you something else. That panel there, when I got my Roadster, rusted, completely gone. Very, very bad shape. Look also at the rails that hold up the floorboards. Dust, big deal. This, gonna need to look at that, see what that is. If it's a hole in the frame, I can fix that pretty easily. Or if it's gussets to hold up this. When I got my Roadster, all of that was in horrible shape. Actually, I think it is. I think it is just a gusset for that one rail. Again, drier eye to rust. Looks like an aftermarket something here. Battery tray, which that's definitely not MG normal, but anyway, who cares? I can fix that if I have to. Same thing with this one, nice and easy. A little bit of rust in the corner, but that's surface. Without taking the body off, to look at the frame itself, I'm looking at a good frame, which is awfully nice given all that work I did to my Roadster when I had that thing, trying to do all the damn rust repair in the frame and straighten it. I do see some missing metal here, which conforms to this gap here and then gets welded as part of the the sill there, that piece. But that's easy. That's just raw metal I gotta replace. I haven't gotten on my back a whole lot under this frame yet to see if, oh fuck it, I'll do it now. Yeah, fuck it. Again, I'm looking for a major rust. There's not much. What I might do is do cursory cleaning of the frame and redoing any missing spots, because that'll turn into rust, if you can see that. That's not a big deal at all. Okay, got some welds to clean up along here. I'm on the right side. The interior of the roof looks pretty good. That's easy to clean out and prep. And look at the other side. No rust Again, well, surface rust, big deal. I'm looking for cancer. I'm looking for the stuff that just eats away your entire frame like it had on that dang roadster. I see a drain hole on the, I'll be damned, on the frame. Okay, so I got off easy on this. Stripping the body, chemical stripper, that's a weekend. The fenders is another weekend. God, I could have this thing stripped in a month, easy. Got my buddy Greg who wants to help. Look at that, that's the undercarriage of the heater shelf area. Lots of surface rust. Oh, maybe that's glue. Guess I'll find out. It's probably rust, but I got a sandblaster, so all that's gonna come out anyway. Plus, it'll get covered with sound deadening material and etc., etc. So there we go. Looks like the transmission has been gone through. All the bolts look rather new. Slave cylinder. Easy. I have no idea about the engine. Once the body's off, I'm going to see if I can check the compression of the engine. Of course, the wheels are brand new in 1959. Yeah, I got a good deal. Jim, I got a really good deal, so I appreciate you working with me on this. Oh, and I've already put the stuff up on hooks and other stuff I've got up in there, up in there, up in there, and I have tons of room. Oh yeah, here's my little helper. Yeah. So I think I'm done for the night. I'm gonna post this and take a shower. Maybe look at, no, I'm not gonna look at the Volvo. I need parts. I need some washers. Cool.